Good morning, class. I say good morning because it actually is morning here with me. This is Thursday, I'm thinking it's the 16th of October. And it's a little before 8 o'clock, and I'm sitting in my apartment in Riverdale looking out at a wonderful view, which I'm lucky to have, of the George Washington Bridge and the Manhattan skyline. Somewhere down there is FIT. And anyway, here we go. So we have really one major media type to talk about, and that is internet and mobile. This is what we're going to call non-traditional media, because everything we've talked about before now in terms of media types are the traditional media: print, broadcast, out of home. Internet obviously is something different. Before we get to that, I just want to touch on our MMJs, My Media Journey. You guys have been good about getting those in, and I appreciate it. Remember, what we're doing is looking at media that intersect our daily media journey, and what information or entertainment are we getting? What is the content? How is this particular medium intersecting your journey? And sometimes you're having to go look for it because it wouldn't normally intersect your journey. I understand that. What do you learn from the content? What ads grab your attention? Why do they grab your attention? You're doing a Tabasco analysis of one ad. Sometimes it hasn't been an ad, actually. Sometimes it's been an earned media placement, as was the case with magazines, which I think I didn't make clear enough in the assignment, but I was looking for a PR placement, not an ad. And with television, I'm looking for a product placement, not an ad. So with PR and product placements, since these are done or made a part of the content of the medium, it is usually not possible to do a lot of hard selling. So you may not get a strong communication of benefit support. You should get a feeling of character because the brand is in that particular magazine or on that particular TV show because it suits a character. You should get target. You're not going to get an offer, but you can nevertheless assess what impact this appearance of the brand is going to have on you. In the case of a magazine PR placement, if they're reviewing a product and give it a positive review, many people think that's more effective than an ad because it's the endorsement of the magazine, et cetera, et cetera. What do you remember? What moves you? Who's on the other side of the medium is something we're going to be thinking more about, particularly now that we get into internet advertising, where some of the media platforms, particularly the social media platforms, it's not always possible to tell who is communicating with you through the medium, right? I know some of this is getting cut off. Let me see if I can do anything about it. I don't know. Whoop, 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 whoop. No, it's just moving it. I'm trying to extend it a little bit. Let's see if I can stop it. All right, so the screen should fit the slides a little better now. So just take a moment now, sitting there, doing whatever you're doing, or maybe you're standing at a stand-up desk, I don't know. What are you learning from My Media Journey in general? What are you learning about each specific medium as you experience and think about the experience yourselves? How does the advertising relate to the medium it is placed in? What are you learning about audiences? Okay, because some of the media, again, that you guys have been picking up, you're not necessarily the main target audience or the natural sort of readership of the medium. Well, who is? Who has the natural readership of newspapers, do you think? Magazines. So I did this My Media Journey project because it just seemed to me that if you're going to study media, it's instructive for you to have experience with each medium and think about it. So do a little thinking about all that now as we move into our last media type, internet and mobile. Of course, now that I've done all this, this glitchy Screencast-O-Matic program refuses to let me advance the slides. Oh, there we go. Whoa, what happened? I don't know, but I'm pleased. My media journey. So there are a bunch of media types to think about. Okay, so now we're going to talk about interactive, internet, online, whatever you want to call it, advertising as experienced on PCs and mobile phones. It's all pretty much the same thing. It's just that, and most of it is going to mobile phones as opposed to PCs, as everybody knows. So there are some sort of fine points of mobile that can't be fine points if you have a laptop, like geo-targeting. But anyway, these are basically the same thing, but on different devices. But first, we're going to talk in general about kind of internet advertising, and then we'll talk about what specifically accrues to mobile devices. So there's the wonderful world we live in, and I mean it sincerely. This planet that travels through space that we are all lucky enough to be on for our lifetimes. And now we see all the signals and different things. These are satellite, I suppose you could say, orbits, right? There's satellites all over our planet. A lot of them assisting with communication, receiving and sending signals to our devices, like our mobile phones, right? This little guy on the left here, who has a laptop computer under his nose, is named Nicholas Negroponte. I actually got to know him in the early 90s. He was the founder of something called the MIT Media Lab. Do you guys know about MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, in Cambridge, Massachusetts? One of the most highly regarded engineering, science, tech schools in our country, if not the world. And this gentleman founded an entity within MIT called the Media Lab, which was devoted to exploring the future of all kinds of media. And I was working at the Gannett Company in the late 80s, early 90s, and Gannett made a financial commitment to the Media Lab. They really wanted to explore the future of newspapers. But each division at Gannett took up a piece of the investment, and I was in the out-of-home division. I was running new business development, trying to find new clients for out-of-home at Gannett. And I was assigned by our CEO, Don Davidson, to be the company representative at the MIT Media Lab. So I got to go to Cambridge a number of times. I visited all the departments on all the different projects, really, because each department there was a project exploring the future of media. And there were people working on digital animation, which turned into Pixar Studios. I'm not sure if it directly came out of MIT, but a lot of new technologies came right out of MIT. E-ink came out of MIT, which is what's used in Kindle readers. Lots of things with a computer interface and how computers work. GPS, lots of things came out of MIT, and it still exists. In fact, it was in the news in a bad way recently because the guy who took over from Nicholas Negroponte, and I forget his name, I apologize, had some kind of relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, who I think we've all heard of, whereby Jeffrey Epstein was donating money to MIT Media Lab, and I'm not sure of all the ramifications, but the lab was in the headlines, and Nicholas Negroponte was quoted as, backing his successor, and but anyway, be all that aside for now. Nicholas Negroponte was projecting really what would happen when everything was going to be digitized, which is what he projected. And he wrote a book called Being Digital in 1995. And just take a look at this quote. I took a picture of a page in the book. I have the book. So, this is changing rapidly. The methodical movement of recorded music as pieces of plastic, like the slow human handling of most information in the form of books, magazines, newspapers, and video cassettes, is about to become the instantaneous and inexpensive transfer of electronic data that move at the speed of light. In this form, the information can become universally accessible. Thomas Jefferson advanced the concept of libraries and the right to check out a book free of charge, but this great forefather never considered the likelihood that 20 million people might access a digital library electronically and withdraw its contents at no cost. The change from atoms to bits is irrevocable and unstoppable. And that is really what's happening in media, and that's what we've been talking about in this class. The internet. What is it? I like definitions, as you know. Called many times just the net. It's a worldwide system of computer networks. A network of networks. Well, you can read it as well as I can. That's one way of defining the internet. Here's another one. It's a globally connected network system that uses transfer protocol to transmit data via various types of media. Definition of online: connected to, served by, or available through a system, and especially a computer. Okay. What does the internet mean to you? I'm going to stop and expand the screen again. As I said, what does the internet mean to you? You guys have really grown up with it. What does the internet do for us? Wow, what a technological innovation is the internet, right? Huge, right up there with electricity, if you think about it. Well, a lot of people, when the internet first started cropping up here and there in the early 90s and the mid 90s, referred to the internet as the information superhighway. And now we're going to just review, this is a chart I like, or a little slide I like a lot. Technological innovations that give rise to media innovations. And we've been through all these things: printing press, movable type, manufacturing paper, steam engines, the electrical grid I just talked about, driven by Thomas Edison. Telephone was Alexander Graham Bell with AT&T. Thomas Edison is General Electric, both companies still around. Radio we talked about, how the rise of electricity and the telegraph, and then the discovery, the ability to send sound via radio waves led to radio, and then they could send pictures via radio waves, and that was television. And computers were developed in the 20th century. People like Alan Turing in Great Britain around World War II, very brilliant, yet tragically persecuted individual. And then, even though I've extended this slide as far as I can, or the screen, what you can't see is internet and mobile. So, all right. So, we're going to talk about history and background, types of internet advertising, creating ads, trends, and strengths and weaknesses. And I'm going to stop, and we'll pick up on the other.